Now King Saul and the nation of Israel was going out to fight the Philistines. And King Saul needed to inquire of the Lord to find out what he should do. But when he sought the Lord didn't answer him. So he went to the prophets, and they didn't have a word from the Lord for him either. So Saul said to himself, I must talk to the great prophet Samuel. But Samuel had died, and all Israel had mourned for him and buried him in his hometown in Ramah. Now King Saul had kicked out the mediums and spiritists from the land. The Philistines were assembled and came and set up camp in the town of Shunem that belonged to the tribe of Issachar, while Saul gathered all Israel and set up camp in the mountains of Gilboa. When Saul saw the Philistine army, he was very afraid. Terror filled his heart. King Saul then said to his attendants, Find me a woman who is a medium, so I may go and inquire of her. His men said, There is one in Endor, the Witch of Endor. She was a sorcerer. Although Saul had banished all the sorcerers and conjurers from his kingdom, his concern about the final outcome of Israel's battle against the Philistines caused him to seek services of someone with a familiar spirit. So Saul disguised himself by putting on different clothing, and at night he and 2 men went to the woman. He asked her to conjure up the spirit of a man. When the woman reminded him of the law against practicing her art, he assured her that she would be protected. The woman conjured up the spirit identified by Saul as Samuel, which goes to prove a spirit can be called back from the dead. When the woman saw the prophet Samuel, she cried out at the top of her voice and said, Why have you deceived me? You are King Saul. The king said to her, Don't be afraid. What do you see? The woman said, I see a ghostly figure coming up out of the earth. This reveals that before Jesus resurrected, heaven and hell were in the earth, because the prophet Samuel came up from the earth when the Witch of Endor called him forth. How do I know this? In the book of Luke, Jesus was teaching a parable. Luke 16:22, Jesus said, There was a rich man who was dressed in purple and fine linen and lived in luxury every day. He lived in a lavish house. At his gate lay a beggar named Lazarus, covered with sores and longing to eat what fell from the rich man's table. Even the dogs came and licked his sores. The time came when the beggar Lazarus died, and the angels carried him into Abraham's bosom, heaven. The rich man also died and was buried, and he went to hell, where he was in torment. He looked up and saw Abraham far away with Lazarus in his bosom. So he called to Abraham, saying, Father Abraham, have pity on me and send Lazarus to dip his finger in some water and cool my tongue, because I am in agony here in this fire. But Abraham replied, Son, remember that in your lifetime you received your good things, while Lazarus received bad things. But now he is comforted here, and you are in agony. And besides all this, between us is a great chasm, or a great gulf, or a great space between the two places. For those who want to go from here to you or hell cannot, nor can anyone cross over from where you are to us. So this proves that heaven and hell were in the earth. But when Jesus resurrected, he changed all that. He says, If I be lifted up, I draw all men unto me. And Jesus is in heaven with the Father. Okay, so when King Saul asked the Witch of Endor what she saw, what does he look like? She said, An old man is coming up from the earth. So the heaven and hell were in the earth, But when Jesus died and was resurrected, the location where paradise is, or heaven, was changed. Because even when Jesus was crucified, the criminal said, "Remember me when you come into your kingdom." And Jesus said to him, "Today you will be with me in paradise." So if the criminal is with him in paradise, he's up there as well. So heaven changed locations from in the earth to above. Now King Saul said, "What do you see?" She said, "A man coming up from the earth with a robe on." So Saul fell down and bowed down and prostrated himself with his face to the ground. The ghost of the prophet Samuel said to Saul, "Why have you disturbed me by bringing me back from my rest?" "I am in great distress," King Saul said. "The Philistines are fighting against me, and God has departed from me. He no longer answers me either by the prophets or by dreams. So I have called on you to tell me what to do." The prophet Samuel said, "Why do you consult me now that the Lord has departed from you and has become your enemy? The Lord has done what he said through me. The Lord has torn the kingdom out of your hands and has given it to one of your neighbors, to David, because you did not obey the Lord or carry out his fierce wrath against the Amalekites. The Lord has done this to you today. The Lord will deliver both Israel and you into the hands of the Philistines. And tomorrow you and your sons will be with me. Tomorrow you will die. The Lord will also give the army of Israel into the hands of the Philistines." Immediately King Saul fell full length on the ground, filled with fear because of Samuel's words. His strength was gone, for he had not eaten anything all day and all night. When the Witch of Endor came to King Saul and saw that he was greatly distressed, she said, "Look, I have obeyed you. I took my life into my own hands and did what you told me to do. Now please listen to me and let me give you some food so you may eat and have the strength to go on your way." But King Saul refused and said, "I will not eat." But his men joined the woman in urging him, and he finally listened to them. And this is 1 Samuel chapter 28.